Thank you, Shirazan. That's humbling, given my father's achievements. And thank you, Dr. Garg and team for inviting me. As Shirazan said, my name is Shuva. I head international cooperation in an Indian-made think tank called the Council on Energy, Environment, and Water. It's a privilege to be here. I want to broaden the conversation a little bit into what is really the role of the oil and gas sector in a nation's economy and its security and the well-being of its people. And at each of these touch points, how can we really have both tech as well as intelligence, artificial or human, come in and give us better forecasting techniques, better demand estimation, better service quality, and all the things that we would want to be as part of a more well-oiled economy, if you will, as we become a much larger economy. And a lot more people come into the mainstream, and they have desires and aspirations that the energy sector is at the heart of delivering. So our responsibilities go beyond the simple process improvements or operations improvements to understanding who are the recipients of our products and our services, and how do we address those. And we have now a lot of technology that has already come in, the digital public infrastructure that we work on, the UPI systems. India has had a number of technological leapfrogs. We don't even see landlines anymore. Our phones are smart. Our education system is transitioning very fast onto digital systems, et cetera. So there's a lot of churn going on. So in this, how does the oil and gas sector, which, as Shirazan said right in the beginning, is actually a very, very techno-centric sector. It has very high technology. It spends billions of dollars in absolutely the latest acquisitions. They have satellite data. They have virtual reality. They have all sorts of tools in their toolkit, so to speak. So the question is not so much what they can afford or what they can integrate, but what can they really deliver value with to the people who are not in the oil and gas sector or who are the recipients. So I will sort of go a little bit into this and place some ideas on the table today for deeper thinking, because this is again a new area. And technology is always new. Technology is never stagnant. So we'll have to see how this evolves. But it's true that we're in the middle of a large transformation as we go on. And one of the important things Sanjay said was that the quality of data that we have and the sources that we have is very important, because as we know, GIGO, garbage in and garbage out. But more than that, the number of points from which we gather data becomes important. So who is informing your decision making is where the intelligence of your decision making and actions thereafter come in. So let's look at a couple of things. I mean, the Iran war is going on, the US-Iran war, and one of the headlines that we saw is panic buying of cylinders, et cetera. Now, this seems like really a basic thing to happen in 2026. Why are we still doing this? Why are consumers not feeling confident enough of where the supply is, whether we have reserves, whether they should buy more cylinders, should they buy it this week? So the consumers do not have intelligent systems at their disposal. So they are reacting to headlines. Here I find that the oil and gas companies, the government's communication with the consumer is not at all intelligent. So they know how much strategic reserve they have, what tools they have, maybe something's happening in the background. But does my mother know this? Do I know this? I don't know this. We're only going by what's on the news. This is a critical intelligence failure, especially in a country of 1.4 billion people, because this has implications on every aspect of our economy, starting with, of course, price rises, but a domino effect that goes into unrest. It creates anxiety in people. And here is where we need to, first of all, look at how do we address the downstream consumer. Downstream consumers are not just domestic, they're also industrial. Within this industrial, we have large industries, and we also have a host of MSMEs. India has more than 64 million MSMEs. What is the communication system to all these MSMEs who are also dependent on the same energy systems as the domestic consumer? So it could be PNG, it could be CNG, it could be petrol, it could be cylinder, large cylinder, commercial cylinder, domestic cylinder, that's all fine. But at the receiving end, they are only looking at an energy supply. What are we doing using both technology that's available and intelligence that's possible using AI to inform these consumers of what is coming? Another segment that the oil and gas sector interacts frequently with are institutional stakeholders. From the Prime Minister's office, ministries, state-level decision-making bodies, the armed forces, let's say the disaster management bodies. There's a whole lot of people that this oil and gas and the energy sector are constantly intersecting with. There is very limited cross-pollination of technology or information between these players. And that leads us to being far less efficient, far less prepared than we should be, given the vast experience that we have and the competence, to be very honest, of India's oil and gas sector, which is among the largest in the world. So how are we looking at a cross-play or integration of technologies to enable collective decision-making across energy and non-energy sectors? Becomes a very important question for us to look into. Then we have, beyond our borders, the international arena. What's happening in the world outside the energy sector? We are tracking many parameters of the energy supply, et cetera, which tanker is coming, which tanker is going, how many MMBTU of this and that. But, sorry, is there? Sorry. Okay.
I think we need to do a disconnect from there.
Oh, from here?
They're feeding in some.
Oh, I think this, maybe. All right. So in the international arena, what exactly are we tracking beyond the energy sector? Are we tracking political developments? Are we tracking other countries' strategic moves? Are we seeing who else is partnering with who else to do what in the energy sector? All of these things are just as important to our energy sector as counting the number of tankers and the number of oil wells. Without comprehensive intelligence that feeds into daily decision-making, we cannot predict choke points, we cannot predict supply constraints, we cannot plan properly, which would be a safe country to maybe buy acreage in, we cannot look at what expansion plans are required in the future, we can't even say that who would be a like-minded partner, as the word that we keep hearing a lot nowadays. Who are our long-term like-minded partners? What is it about them that makes them like-minded to us? These are all data points that are extremely critical beyond operational processes for the oil and gas, and by that I mean the critical energy infrastructure of our country. Another second way to look at all of this is that when we're gathering this multi-sector data and processing them into intelligence, we need to, again, going back to the quality of data, but also the quality of interpretation. What are the skills and capacities that we are building to make sense of data so it becomes, as we heard, from noise to signal? Who is receiving that signal? Who is processing it and who is transmitting it? To whom? These are systemic changes that we need to have to really use any sort of technology, and even more so something that is intelligent, to our advantage. Otherwise, these are pockets of data and information and all sorts of numbers, etc., that we're collecting, which is of no usable value. Finally, it's very important for us to distinguish between technological advancement and human advancement. By that, I mean that yes, technologies will come and technologies will go. Processes will come and processes will go. The things that we do today will not be the same things that we do in 2050. We did not do the same things we do today in 2100. Or I'm old enough to know in the 90s, 80s, we did different things. We had different things. We used different things. We had different relationships with other countries. We had different lifestyles. How do we know what we are doing in 2050? How do we plan backwards from that? That is what we call foresight planning. This is different from linear modeling, where we assume we are doing X, Y, Z today, and then we say, population increases by Y%, so we are doing X, Y, Z into Y% more, etc. That's linear. That assumes things as existing today and uses multipliers. But foresight is different. Foresight looks into the future, tries to imagine what we are doing, how we are living, what we are prioritizing 10 years, 20 years, maybe 70 years from now. Oil and gas, in particular fossil fuels, or any energy infrastructure, even if we make investments in renewable energy grids, smart grids, etc., these are extremely expensive capex investment, but more than that, they lock us into certain pathways. These are energy pathways, transition pathways for decades. Investments we make today, plans we make today, are going to impact our future generations, and therefore, it's very important for us to use not just the data that we have available with us from the energy sector, but look at the holistic development trajectory of our country and other countries that we may wish to work with in the future or work with now, with whom we may have partnerships, etc., to see how their progress is happening. How is our progress happening? Do we see the same like-minded country at the same level in 2047? We don't know that. This is where the true use of intelligence systems come in, supported by technology. But this imagination has to come from us. This critical thinking has to come from us. This is something we need to learn. This is something we need to propagate. This is something that requires a lot more conversation and a lot more debate, a lot less technocentrism, and a lot more understanding of the world that we live in and the one that we would like to live in. So I leave you with that thought that technology is all that we make of it. It's a tool. It's for us to use it the way we want it. And intelligence goes only as far as we think it can go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shuva. Well, I had one question coming in my mind, which I think will be hopefully covered by some of you. See, what bothers me sometimes is that, we do a lot of drilling, whether for oil or for even a totally simple use like a deep bore tube well for water. But in all this process, we are probing the innards of the earth. So it's like a surgeon with a specific knowledge and a specific target operating upon a person and doing a searching for what he is looking for inside. Now, with AI coming in, can't we marry processes where during that drilling, you may be looking for something called X, but you may find C, D, E, and F there. So that kind of a thing, I think that would be, in my view, the real use of AI. Number one is making your individual process shorter, more smart, etc., etc. But when you are probing into the unknown, you may be ignoring some other locations entirely. So this is, please.
Very specific to that, back in the day, we used ONGC's probing the geo activities to search for the Saraswati River basin, which is deep inside. And now we have actually managed to find it, and that has set our civilizational date back to around 7,500 years. And this was possible because of the drilling and the geological studies that ONGC was doing. So this is one where it's intersecting with, let's say, a historical research while using oil and gas technology. So there are many things that we can and we must do, because these are all cross-functional technologies and expertise.
You pointed out about the, sorry for a little digression, since she mentioned Saraswati river bed. This river bed, incidentally, I was district magistrate of that district, from where it originates. And then where I have my orchards and land holdings, this passes through that area. And then as Principal Secretary of Water Resources and Irrigation and Power in the state, the Chief Minister was very keen that we utilize flood waters for the Yamuna into the drier parts. Luckily, you see, the drainage and irrigation people have a lot of institutional memory, which they're not using. So the course that was chosen was the old bed of the Saraswati. And that bed, in fact, incidentally landed up somewhere near Kurukshetra, present Kurukshetra. But of course, there was an intervening election. The whole canal was built. But then elections came and some party promised that your lands will be returned to you. So people took compensation and their land back. And the government lost that thing. And what you're mentioning, the bed of the Saraswati, it could have become a Saraswati again. And we lost that opportunity. But anyway, sorry for the total digression. But then Saraswati, the very word Saraswati, you see, throws in so many questions. Sorry. Now I think maybe if the next speaker is ready.